Welcome to the TEEP Show, a show for UFC veterans and casuals alike, where we bring you the comings and goings from around the sport. This is a very special episode for our visual listeners. If you're just listening on the pod, we love you too. But this is TEEP Show 6 and the first TEEP Show with the boys in person. I'm Alex. That man sitting in the same room as me is Jonah, and we're here with what we hope is not a 4-hour show. We're going around the horn, touching on news since the last pod, a lightning quick recap of UFC 304, and an even faster recap of Fight Night Abu Dhabi before finishing off with our bets and picks for UFC 305 this weekend in Perth, Australia. JMan, how you doing?
I'm great, baby. In person, New York kid now. Let's do this thing.
Let's do it. We're going to start off around the horn with the superstar of the sport, Jonah's favorite fighter. That's Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor is yelling at Dana White that he wants to fight in December. Dana White is saying that fight will not happen this year. Michael Chandler, it seems, has all but given up on the fight. Jonah, do you care anymore?
I want it to be done. I never cared in the first place about that fight. I don't think anybody did. It wasn't the right fight for Conor. And now that it's been 2 years and the season of Ultimate Fighter that they did sucked, I couldn't care less. I mean, I'd be streaming that thing. No chance I buy that pay-per-view, which is all Conor's good for anyways. No chance I care about that fight. They should make Conor Gaethje. Chandler should move up a weight class or something. Don't want to see it.
Do you think Chandler should stick around at this point? I mean, it's been 2 years. That's a sunk cost, but it still remains what would be the biggest payday of his career.
I don't know. He's a professional fighter. Like, he still needs to make money somehow. I'd imagine maybe he gets a big win, and we can revisit it, and interest is peaked if he goes and gets like a first-round knockout. But right now, I don't think anybody cares. He was already like somewhat new to the UFC, and now he hasn't fought for half the time that he's been in the UFC.
Absolutely.
So I don't care anymore.
Well, it's like Dustin Poirier said in that MSG fight. You know, this is my house. I've been here 28 fights. You've been here for 5.
I like Mike Chandler, by the way. He's a great fighter. Like I like, you know, I don't have like a bad opinion of the guy.
No animus towards Mike Chandler.
No problem. It's about like the intrigue. If the biggest star in the history of the sport is going to fight, you can't throw it away on Mike Chandler, who has is not relevant at the moment. Not to casual fans at the very least, and casual fans would make up over 90% of the audience for a Conor fight. So I don't need to see it. It's not that exciting, and they're not even contenders. I mean, best case scenario, right? For the sport, I'm not a Conor fan, but let's say best case scenario for the sport, which I would root for, is Conor knocks him out flat, round 1. Okay.
Left hand.
We're still talking. He's like, maybe then he's earned a number 1 contender fight.
Yeah.
Against a better guy who I doubt Conor would be able to string wins against good competition like that at this point. And
no, there's one guy. There's one highly ranked guy he can beat.
Maybe.
Du Bronx.
Maybe.
Du Bronx.
Yeah.
The UFC, in its ultimate wisdom, actually, I kind of feel that this was a dunk on Ariel Helwani, announced that Max Holloway will be fighting Ilia Topuria for the title, not in Salt Lake City, as was reported by Ariel, but in fact in Abu Dhabi for 308. This is one of the most stacked main cards I've ever seen. And I mean, I think this competes with UFC 300 on a main card level. Max and Topuria, Alexander Volkov, friend of the podcast, and Cyril Gahn. Hamzat versus Rob Whitaker, also a friend of the podcast. And our boy, maybe the best friend of the podcast, Magomed Ankalaev against Alexander Rakic.
I just texted him before this.
Yeah. He'd tell you to pray 5 times a day, brother.
It doesn't get better than that for a main card. To me, at least.
Yeah.
I'm sure Abu Dhabi would rather Islam on the card because of the Khabib brand and all that. But to me, that's as good as it's going to get.
I completely agree. Real quick, real short notice. I think this is next week. Jared Cannonier versus Borralho was announced as the main event. That was booked on 18 days notice. Jared Cannonier is one of the all-time sacrificial lambs in the sport. He's a man that you and I have regarded as existing basically specifically to lose to our favorite fighters and advance their cause. But, I mean, he's been top 5 for a reason. But who do you like there?
Cannonier can go to hell for all. He's 40, okay, and he's losing striking battles against not top-level strikers. He gets taken down by Derek Brunson like he's never wrestled before. And then you put on the most boring performance of all time with Izzy.
Second, to be fair, this is a testament to Izzy. Only the second most boring Izzy title fight of all time.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Yeah.
But look, this is what Cannonier does really well. And it worked for a while because middleweight sucked and had a lot of guys like this in the rankings, is he can beat the shit out of guys that are considered wrestlers but aren't really that great at getting a takedown, and then they suck on the feet.
Yeah.
So the prime example of that is Marvin Vettori, who Jared Cannonier landed like 600,000 strikes on, beat him to oblivion to the point where Vettori's like not even fighting anymore, and Cannonier looked like a world beater in that fight.
Yes.
But against anybody else, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm with you. Lastly, probably most interesting, best for last, Muhammad Mokaev won at UFC 304. He was going to be the number 2. No, he's already 2. He might have been the number 1 ranked guy.
Should have been. If he wasn't, he should have
The
been.
UFC cut an undefeated 23-year-old Dagestani English fighter. But everyone agrees it was justified. And it also seems like he was cut not for the reason that everyone agrees, that everyone wanted to see him cut, which was he's a very boring fighter. But apparently they had a lot of problems behind the scenes booking him with fights. He beefed with Hunter Campbell. Thoughts on kind of the unprecedented move. The only other guy I can think of like this actually was another flyweight, Askarov.
Right.
Yeah, being cut at 19-1.
Yeah, well, he was missing weight like it was his job,
Yeah.
so slightly different scenario. But yeah, that's a good callback because those two. I mean, you can make a case those two are the best flyweights in the world, but look, at the end of the day, it's flyweight. It's not really a revenue generator, and Dana and his frat boys that run the show aren't gonna put up with some like 23-year-old punk that's not really a huge draw and making their lives hard. So, and honestly, like I know Dana would completely deny this if someone asked him in the media or something, but this has been said by some of the talking heads, is like it's not a bad play to, cut him, kind of make this scene. We were talking
Completely
about it.
agree.
Everybody's
Completely
talking about
agree.
it. He's 23 years old. He'll go dominate in Brave FC, whatever promotion wants to sign him.
Was that Rave?
Whatever. Who even knows the names of these other small promotions?
ABC, yeah.
But he'll be the champ there. It'll get spotlight every time he fights, and then he'll mature, and it'll be kind of this like noteworthy story if and when he were able to come back to the UFC when he's literally like 27.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he's the boogeyman that you tell your kid when you're tucking your kids in at night. You say, you got to go to bed or else you get cut like Muhammad Mokaev. I think that it's someone that you point to and you say, you got to be exciting. Actually, I just saw a tweet. Someone that trains with Carl Williams said that the UFC told him he had to be more exciting. And apparently he stood and banged and lost last weekend.
The reasoning for that is because Carl Williams is like the decision king at heavyweight and would just like take guys down and lay on them for 3 rounds, which is like, I mean, it's not fun in general, but at heavyweight you expect like 2 idiots to be swinging on each other and somebody goes to sleep within 2 minutes. So yeah, he lost last weekend exactly because of that.
There's a conversation to be had on another podcast about there's a lot of uproar from Anik, from Helwani, from Rogan, that the sport is doing everything it can to pivot advantages away from grapplers.
Rogan's the king
of that take.
He hates
Yeah.
that. And I don't disagree. Like, it's a two-sided coin. Like, I totally agree with Rogan, and then also it's like everybody knows it's a business.
Absolutely.
They're trying to sell something.
Yeah.
And so I can at least understand the point that they don't want any of that shit in at least like high-profile fights. But it is disappointing when like an undefeated 23-year-old that presumably would win the belt if he fought is cut now. Like I wanted to see that fight. Yeah. So sucks.
Yeah. And we talked about if he won the belt, which he'll never fight for unless he comes back. He could, with the dearth of talent at flyweight, he could have challenged. We're getting way ahead of ourselves, but he could have challenged like Jones's title defense streak. I mean, the guy was undefeated and he was 23. Yeah. You just don't see that. So, and I'll say this: what's most interesting was that the PFL, which should be hoovering scraps from the UFC table like a dog, also was uninterested, which speaks to again problems he has off the field, as it were.
I'm surprised that's sitting their way still.
You know what? I kind of think, excuse my language, I think they're full of shit. I actually think Mokaev, I think he ends up there, right? Yeah. Oh, we talked to him. We laid out, our vision. Yeah, whatever. Okay, UFC 304. We have some penance to pay. Lightning quick recaps. We will be here till 3 o'clock in the morning. Let's start with the big one. We're going to do 2 fights that went wrong and 2 fights that went right. So I guess not as bad as I'm making it out to be. But the one that went wrong went very, very wrong. Both of them. We're going to start with the championship fight. Leon Edwards, Belal Muhammad. Thoughts?
Man. I don't know. I look, respect, but I don't think Leon's that good. I think that's what I texted you that after. I said I had respect for Belal going into the fight. I knew he was a great fighter. I didn't think he was going to win, but really my opinion of Belal didn't change from before to after the fight. My opinion of Leon changed entirely. Like this, I know he skated by Colby easily when Colby had a broken foot, but it's been multiple times now where we've seen wrestling just end Leon 1.5 rounds into the fight. And like he had no chance of defending takedowns. And then honestly, even I think Belal beat up Leon worse than Usman was doing it in their second matchup before the head kick ban.
I'll disagree with you.
I mean, we're splitting hairs at the top here. Like, Belal was kicking the shit out of him. And I don't know. I don't think Belal's going to hold the belt for that long, but I could see Leon. If they don't match him up well, which I don't think they should, he's not like some huge draw or anything that they should want as champion again. Feed him to the young wolves that are up and coming, and I think he could lose his next 3 fights.
I actually felt a little stupid after this one. I read Brett Apley, shout out Brett Apley, who does UFC breakdowns for The Athletic, and he took a victory lap on Twitter, and I agreed with him. Belal is a consistent round winner who wins with wrestling. He's got good striking metrics. And Leon,
he is good at boxing, man.
He's good at boxing. It looks
coach,
ugly.
That was a nonsense comment.
That he's got some Mexican boxing.
He does have really good boxing, especially when he can take you down any second. It's good.
Well, Leon doesn't have great striking metrics, doesn't have a lot of volume, and I think he's had 2 Hail Marys in his title run.
Yeah.
One's obvious. The other, Usman to the head kick when he was down 4-0, probably 3-1. The other one is, Jonah, I think Colby breaking his foot round 1. I mean,
a lot of people thought Colby was going to do to Leon exactly what Belal did. like educated people that, I mean, Usman had fought both of them and thought Colby was going to do the same exact thing Belal did. And obviously a broken foot 2 minutes into the fight is going to hinder that.
Yeah.
I think you even saw it later. I mean, in the 5th round, Colby was doing it, even with a broken foot.
Yeah.
And I don't even, I'm no, I don't think Colby would beat most of the guys in the top 10 at this point, but like, it doesn't look like Leon's even close to capable of defending takedowns if a guy doesn't have a broken foot. So, like I said, it was a horrible night for Leon. I doubt he'll ever reach the same level of success.
The last thing I'll say is, dude, I think it's hard. I'm trying really hard not to be a casual right now, but I think it's really hard going forward to bet against someone that trains with the Dagestanis.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, we'll get to it later, but Umar just beat up Sandhagen. Belal went out and looked like a different man, and dare I say, kind of employed a little bit more Dagestani wrestling than the traditional Dagestani chain wrestling, than the traditional American kind of, double shoot, especially that the takedown where he seals Leon under his crotch, flips him. That looked like
I thought
Islam.
Leon was going out there.
Yeah. Oh, you're like slam.
Yeah. His head at the camera, so I thought he was out.
The real litmus test for this is Johnny Walker is now at AKA. So if Johnny Walker starts rattling off shit, man, it is a wrap. But
I think Belal Muhammad can beat Johnny Walker. We can say that for another day.
What's next? Belal gets Shavkat next, despite the Usman back and fake Twitter beef that they got going on.
That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, it's Shavkat.
Lost 3 fights in a row. It should be Shavkat. It sounds like it will be Shavkat. And gun to my head, I'd take Shavkat just because it's hard not to. It's not even disrespect to Belal. It's just Shavkat. When you're 17-0 with 17 finishes, it's kind of hard to not pick you. I don't think Belal could take Shavkat down. You're talking about like whatever the credentials in that part of the world are, like international master of sambo, whatever. Right. So if I had to guess, he wouldn't be able to take Shavkat down, and then on the feet, I know we were just giving Belal props for his boxing, which
it's
deserves,
different.
But Shavkat's, if you can't take him down, if he's not going to be afraid of the takedown threat, which I'm guessing he won't be. I think Shavkat would probably hurt him. He's longer than him. He hits harder than Leon. He puts out more volume than Leon. He actually has more diverse striking than Leon. I know Leon can hit a bag pretty, but like Shavkat really mixes that shit up in the octagon.
Absolutely.
And I would take Shavkat. But I wouldn't be, again, I said the same, and this is covering my ass here. I said the same thing before the Leon fight. I won't be surprised if Belal beat him. It's possible he can just take anybody down if they're not a world-class wrestler. Like, Shavkat is long and skinny. Maybe he can get his hands locked and take him down easily.
Well, speaking of Leon, who you got next?
For Leon to fight?
For Leon.
Like I said, I would probably, if I were the UFC, this is just what I would do. I mean, he's sitting at number 1, right?
Feed him.
So what do? Like, you don't want to. I know there's kind of some appeal to making like a Leon MVP and having these like 2 long black English guys fight each other that just kind of look like a Titan matchup at 170 and they're both strikers too, so it would kind of be fun. But I think the play would be, I think I said this that night, would be once, if and when Sean Brady beats Gilbert Burns in September, Sean Brady, get on the mic and call out Leon. Because that matchup is tailor-made for you, brother. And you got number one ranking just sitting there for the taking if you can get that fight.
I'll agree with you halfway. MVP would be the most fun fight. MVP is a fun man, and you want to find good opportunities for him. But you're right, Leon's got that number one spot, and you do not want MVP as your number one contender.
No, especially when Belal is the champion.
Oh God, can you imagine, dude? So I'm going to go the other way, the other undefeated, Sean.
Sure.
And that's a UK on UK matchup, a guy that the UFC has been trying to promote for a long time. That's Ian Gary. That's a striker on striker. You know, at some point, like, I don't want to say he's been coddled. You know, Jeff Neal's a real guy. But at some point, if he's going to be a champ, what's he right now? 7, something like that?
6.
6.
Yeah,
if you're going to be a champ, you got to beat the guys. And that, you know this stuff very well. They're going back to England pretty soon, no?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
I forget.
Scarily soon.
Yeah.
That makes all the sense in the world. Ian Gary, undefeated, going for the number one contender spot. UK on UK will be the worst pre-fight hype of all time.
God.
Gary will make some cringe stuff.
No way I'll be able to watch that press conference.
Leon will just say, bruv, you haven't been here, bruv.
Yeah.
You're not in my level, bruv.
Yeah.
And that will be terrible. Nice. But that is the fight to make. Patty versus King Green. No fight recap.
We got that one wrong.
Yeah. Jonah texted me the day before the fight. He's like, man, there's just something wrong. We're like, I'm not seeing something.
Yeah.
But no fight recap. Hats off to Paddy. We're not doing it. He looked great on the feet until Bobby threw himself into a guillotine.
He's never going to win another fight. He's never going to.
Bobby threw himself into a guillotine. What do you want?
I'm dying on the hill that Paddy will not beat another ranked fighter. I don't care. I don't care who it's against. Either.
Well, not a ranked fighter, yeah. But wait till Luigi Ventimiglia, too.
They're going to have to sign bums. He can fight Mokaev once he gets re-signed and has put on 30 pounds.
We're pretty salty, so we're just going to go into what's next. And the what's next is Money Moicano, and I love the fight. That will actually, if they did that, they can't do it on the same as Leon and Gary. But that press conference will be fantastic.
Oh, yeah. They like each other too. They respect each
other. But JMan, you had an interesting idea of what should be next for young Paddy.
What's that? Oh,
Oliveira.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna, because I view Oliveira and Moicano basically in the same light, and so basically, if this is what they did with Sean O'Malley, right? Is they were worried about like working him up the ladder and fighting 4 top 10 guys to get a number one contender fight. So they just picked the best top matchup in like the top 3 for him, which was Peter Yan at the time. And he happened to edge out that fight via split decision.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not saying I think Paddy would beat Oliveira, but he's probably the most beatable top 3 guy. And
definitely is. No question.
There's no point in wasting time, having him fight 8, then 6, then 4 type thing. It'd be a huge fight. Oliveira's had his title run. I'm sure he just wants to make his $2 million bag. He makes every fight now. And I don't think Paddy would win, but I guess, there's a chance. There's just as much of a chance, basically, as there is against Moicano. And if it's less, then it's not much. And I just think the risk is worth the reward.
Absolutely. King Green, what's next? I'll take this one. He's going to fight Who Cares next. I mean, what's even fun at this point? He already fought Drew Dober. That's the one that would, retirement, brother. There's nothing. There's nothing. Yeah. We're not even gonna debate that. What went right? This is my favorite segment. Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. We love this value. And it was scary round 1 because I texted you. I watched it late on the recap, but I texted you while I was watching it. Giga's kicks while he's fresh are the fastest I've ever seen in my life.
For sure.
He's in round 1. He is a scary dude. Look,
I'll say on that, it's so well known at this point that if you're like very attentive on it, you can defend it like Allen did. But yes, they are still scary.
what did you think about Allen not wrestling?
Love it. First of all, just from like a fan perspective, and like
Poor coaching.
Arnold Allen is like an interesting personality, and basically, long story short, he was saying in his last fight against Evloev, because Evloev's so grapple heavy, they spent all camp wrestling and defending takedowns, and Arnold was miserable. So he was like, "Fuck that! Like we're gonna strike all camp and strike with a striker." And obviously he did that for 3 rounds and like showed he still is able to win against the top level kickboxer.
I'm sorry. All I heard was a validation of my long-held theory that the reason no one wants to fight wrestlers isn't because they have to wrestle. It's because you have to wrestle in training camp for so long. It's not the fight. It's the training camp.
That's certainly the case for Arnold Allen because I heard him telling Hawani, he's like, I was just miserable. Like, he's like, I don't even care if I lose the fight. Like, I just don't want to do that.
Well, he did stand and strike with Giga, and you're right. It was very impressive because Giga is a stand-up artist, one of the best at featherweight, and Arnold stood with him the whole time. And by
the way, if that fight went 5 rounds, I mean, it's ending in like a finish. Like,
for sure.
Arnold had. I know he won 29-28, so it doesn't sound that.
Did you score it 29-28?
Round 1 could have gone either way. I can go either way there. Maybe I give it 3-0 Allen just out of bias.
Yeah.
But if it went 2 more rounds, it wouldn't have gone the distance. Allen had clear momentum there.
Clairvoyant, Jesus, it's a tough word. Clairvoyant JMan had, I think, a perfect next opponent for Arnold Allen. I can agree completely. Who is next for Arnold Allen?
Who did I say?
He's Mexican.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can beat Giga standing, then I don't see why you wouldn't be able to beat Yair standing. Maybe he's a more like dynamic in the sense that he's a little bit more entertaining and he throws wheel kicks instead of liver kicks, but like he gasses out like a motherfucker after round 1. Yeah. His takedown defense is terrible. I mean, honestly, I think even Arnold Allen would be like, you gotta be kidding. Like, I can take down this guy like he's a child once he gets in there. So, I mean, it's such an easy matchup. Yair's proved he's not going to beat top-level guys, but they still have him ranked at 2 or 3 or whatever because he's a big name. Like, just do it. Just do it and build Arnold.
Just off the top of your head, who's the most overrated fighter in the UFC?
I mean, we were just talking about Yair. It's kind of hard for me not to say.
Yeah, I think it's Yair.
Yeah,
he's got such massive holes in his game, and he's not. I mean, he lost the stand-up.
Max Holloway looked like Bo Nickel against him. I'm sure me or you could put a single leg on him and have some success. So yeah, I mean that guy. They need to hand feed him matchups for him to win.
What's next for Giga Chikadze? It's a shame that Diego Lopez is getting Ortega, because this would be a great spot for him. But I'll pivot to another guy with good jiu-jitsu. Bryce Mitchell. I think this is...
I've been calling for that matchup for 2 or 3 years now.
This is like a wizard versus archer matchup in a video game. Like, each guy can only do one thing.
It'd be so one-sided. I don't know which way.
Yeah.
But it'd be so one-sided just because the contrast of styles is so significant.
And Giga's 35-ish. Bryce has lost to a lot of guys. One of them needs to die. Unfortunately, I think you can look out for a Josh Emmett sighting if Josh decides that he can make yet another run at the belt. But I think Bryce makes all the sense in the world. I think it's 10-12 as currently stands. So, one of them's got to come out. The other one that went right, not for your boy, although I will note I liked the value, not the straight pick, but Jonah was all over England's finest, clearly England's finest, after the Leon loss. Tom Aspinall.
He's most dangerous person that's maybe ever walked the face of the planet.
Yeah.
I understand people 4,000 years ago were wielding swords and axes, but like just bare hands, lock them in a room. I don't think anybody's beating the shit out of Tom Aspinall.
Can you imagine if like you put him in the Coliseum and he just shoots a double on something?
He could. Yeah. I truly believe it. He could, because some of the swords were so big that they wouldn't have the timing to get it, and he's so fast that he could shoot a double. His 1-2 is like a gunshot. It's so fucking fast. I mean, that's what put out Curtis. Yeah, I mean that guy. Nobody's beating that guy.
What's next for Tom Aspinall is decided. That's John Jones. What's next for Curtis Blaydes? I didn't know until this weekend.
What's that?
Sergey Spivak. It's one of the. I mean, dude, he's no. Wait.
There's nothing else.
He's fought everybody. Yeah. He's been top 5 for so long.
I'll say the only he hasn't fought Gon, because Gon would
duck him. Yeah, Gon would die.
Gon would rather never fight again than fight Blaydes.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. There's nobody else.
Yeah, I mean the wild card there is the winner of Volkov Gon, but Volkov's already fought him.
Right.
And Gon won't, so it's Sergey Spivak. Poor Curtis Blaydes, probably the second best heavyweight to ever walk the face of the planet. You know what would have been a great custom matchup? Is DC at heavyweight versus Curtis.
Yeah, I've got Curtis there.
I do too.
I mean, it's not DC's fault.
I was watching
heavyweight.
DC Stipe too. DC had hands by the end of his career.
He very much did. I just think Curtis was beat too big.
Yeah. All right, we move on to the bountiful land of plenty, which is Abu Dhabi. What is the Abu Dhabi state bird, Jonah?
$1 billion?
Yeah, I don't know. It was just a random question for you. I don't know if they have birds over there. We're going to do 3 fights. We're going to start with Jonah's favorite fighter, Chito Vera. Chito Vera fought Davison Figueiredo. I want to say
he sucks. He's not interesting, and his fights aren't interesting. They're boring. They go to 2-1 decisions against him. He's never been good. He had 2 fluky finishes against guys that aren't even that great.
Dom and Font.
I don't want to hear about the guy again. Everybody knows. They gave him the decision against Pedro Munoz.
Yeah.
To get the title shot against O'Malley. They made this big fight. And they should have. It was smart to build O'Malley like that. But it's over now. He got his face beat in for 25 minutes. And now he's losing to flyweights that are middle of the pack ranking guys. I'm over Chito.
Sugar's best line ever was, did Chito win tonight? Was it boring?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's next. Yeah. A listener to this podcast bet Chito, and I wanted a personal apology texted to me. We hate Chito probably more than any other fighter. It's literally on the roster.
I don't want to hear about it anymore.
Well, Brett, I just hyped up Brett Appley before, and I was reading some of his stuff earlier today back on that fight, and he has a big miss where basically he sees the same thing we do, but goes in another direction where he's outstruck, outvolumed by everyone. But then where we say he pulls finishes out of his ass, Brett Appley says, but his cardio allows him to pull magical finishes and prove me wrong. It's no, these are Hail Marys that he's pulling.
Yeah,
right?
It's over.
Disrespectful to Leon a bit, but Chito is a worse Leon to me. He's a low output, starts slow, depends almost wholly.
That's enough. That's too disrespectful.
That's too.
I know Leon gassed out and put on a shitty performance, but at least the guy.
Well, they're both reliant on Hail Marys. All right. Anyway, all right. Yeah, we're not going to talk about it. I'm going to take over for this one because I don't think Jonah. Wait, try me. What's next for Mackenzie Dern?
Take 5.
Okay. Yeah. Go get some water. Go get me my coffee. What's next for Mackenzie? Mackenzie, look, the striking is really tough. It's really tough. Even in the Loopy fight, people are scared to take her down, and they should be. She's got, best-in-class jiu-jitsu, probably outside of Lopez, the most accomplished jiu-jitsu player in the UFC right now. What's next for Mackenzie? She brings a lot of eyeballs to fights. She's very good looking, and that has something to do with it. But she is also exciting fighter. She's one of the most exciting women on the roster. She's willing to put her chin out there. Unfortunately, she unconsciously puts her chin out there up when she's striking a lot. What's next for her is the Vanderoba fight. You actually called Vanderoba versus Lemos perfectly. You said you thought Vanderoba would beat the shit out of her. She did. Mackenzie has fought Vanderoba, but Mackenzie's actually fought, I believe, 5 of the 6 people above her. The only one she hasn't fought is Tatiana Suarez, and nobody needs to see that fight. She's one of the most marketable women in the organization. Give her Vanderoba, who's at 3. She beat Vanderoba. That is one of the best aged UFC wins in the organization.
Verna,
right now.
I think I have a theory that I've never said out loud, but I think Verna Jandiroba started taking steroids a couple of years ago because she got jacked out of nowhere and now starts winning every single fight and looks like a world beater.
She still looks chunny while she's doing it.
Yeah.
But she's a little bit more jacked now.
She's jacked.
Do you know who's really jacked?
Not jacked.
Do you know who's really jacked, though?
Nah.
Mackenzie Dern is
Mackenzie Dern,
absolutely jacked.
Maybe they're doing steroids together. I mean, both of them got so much bigger than they were even 3 years ago.
I just want to say, I'm calling her Vanderoba on purpose. I like the combine. Okay. But look, if she beats, who would you have in the hypothetical rematch? I actually think a lot of
Verna. I just think it's not even against Dern. I think she's, good, not great.
She is what she is.
I think Verna could contend. She's that good.
Here's the play. And I'm not going to look at you for the rest of this because I don't want to see you rolling your eyes.
Because I don't care.
Yeah, well, and that. If she beats Vanderoba, she all of a sudden is available for a much-needed breath of fresh air for none other than Zhang Weili, who is the best woman fighter, not of all time, but she's coming up on it. And there is a path to victory there. I don't care what that guy says. There's a path to victory. Weili's not going to be able to wrestle. If she does wrestle, that's going to be an advantage for Mackenzie. World-class jiu-jitsu. If she does not wrestle, yes, she will knock Mackenzie's block off of her head. But she wrestled against Lemos. She wrestled against, I can't pronounce that name, just Jan Chionin.
Something like that.
And, it causes Mackenzie's problems when she's in the striking battle, when she keeps her chin up. But, look, Loopy didn't find her chin. Jessica Andrade did. But you should be trying to maneuver Mackenzie towards that title shot if you're the UFC. Because she is one of the more marketable women in that division, period. All right. Thank God we got through that quick. We didn't do... This is sad.
Well, we can get through this one quick because I don't want to talk about...
Look how they massacred my boy.
Result that I've seen all year.
Is he your favorite?
My Cory,
I know
Justin, Rob.
All just
Both.
1A, yeah.
Yeah.
We're talking about Cory Sandhagen and Umar Nurmagomedov. Let's do this recap together.
Umar is really good.
He's really...
That's the only takeaway here. I think Cory looked great. I think Cory would beat Marab, which I very much did not believe before that fight. But his takedown defense was fucking ridiculous. And he still looked fine, but Umar... I don't know. I don't see where you can beat Umar.
I'm glad you said that you think that Cory can beat Marab now, because it's insane that Cory looked good and at the same time lost 4-1.
That's how good Umar is.
Absolutely.
And you made a good point. You texted me after the fight. I think the only person, just matchup-wise, who would stand a chance against Umar is Peter Yan. And even then, you know.
He's the last silver bullet, I think, that the
And
UFC
even
can throw.
he's on a 1-fight win streak now. Like, I don't think he just deserves a title shot out of nothing. Like, he's going to have to get a tough win again.
He's ranked 3.
Yeah, but he needs another win against a top guy when he comes back from an ACL injury. And I mean, even then, I think Umar would he could probably beat him in a striking fight, and he could probably take him down. So, again, like anybody, where's the route to victory for anybody? Like, I don't see it. So,
I mean, I'm disagreeing with you, but again, we're splitting hairs. Like, I think Peter can stand on the feet with Umar, but it's close, and what's not close is the wrestling. So, like,
sure,
like, what are we discussing?
Yeah.
This is normally Stephen A. Smith and Kellerman talk, but right now, this Umar Nurmagomedov, is he the best bantamweight of all time?
In the, best bantamweight of all time, defining it as, do I think any other bantamweight would ever beat him over half the time? No. I think he's that good. I think he would have smoked Aljo, to be honest with you.
Oh my God. He would have. It would have been ugly.
If you're in the camp that thinks Aljo's the best, or was the best, I think that wouldn't be close. If you're in the camp that thought Dillashaw or Cruz was none of them. And it's not disrespect to any of them. Those are all great fighters, but like Umar is that good, and it's not going to end anytime soon. He's like my age and has a title fight coming up later this year, early next year.
I think Prime TJ gives him a shot, but
sure,
but gives him a shot, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Umar outstruck Cory, and that's a little unfair because Cory is a counter-strike guy who was scared shitless of the takedown. But at the end of the day, he outstruck Cory on the feet. And it's a huge testament to Cory that Cory was able to scramble out of disadvantageous wrestling positions. Massive. But then the whole point of that is then you beat him on the feet.
Yeah.
The whole point of getting out of that is that you beat him on the feet. And he got beat everywhere. So really, really tough for the Cory boys. But we can look forward to what's next.
Likely Umar smoking Marab?
Umar's title shot for sure. There's one silver bullet. It's Piotr Jan. What's next for Cory Sandhagen? I got 2 options here, and you're going to say at least one of them. I know you're going to say one.
Aldo for me.
Oh,
would be the one.
Oh,
yeah. I'll let Aldo.
Because you want him to win.
Of course I do.
This is the Jared Cannonier conversation from earlier. It's like, who's the worst top 5 guy?
This isn't like what I would do for the benefit of the sport or anything. This is about me. This is
about
podcast.
you. Yeah.
I want Cory to invite me for all I care to get back in the green column. Yeah, I'd want Aldo. I mean,
okay.
What? Who do you got?
I think you've said this before. Henry Cejudo's sitting there.
I don't even think Cejudo would take the fucking fight, honestly.
Well, okay,
Cejudo's
I disagree.
Not taking fights against Kyle Phillips, let alone Cory Sandhagen.
One's 14 or one's 13, and one's above him in the rankings with name value.
I think Henry. I've even heard Henry talk. Henry, who's historically disrespectful to other fighters, has been wildly respectful to Cory Sandhagen's skills, and I don't think he would take that, especially circumstantially with like where he's at in his career, coming off multiple L's. I don't think he'd take that fight. If he did, I think he'd get killed too. Well, if Umar can't take him down, Henry's not going to take him down.
Here's the thing. I think he's only got 2 options at this point. He's 38, right? That's the problem when you take a 3-year hiatus and start a YouTube channel.
His option is fuck off.
Like and subscribe.
I don't care.
You have 2 options. I think you have Cory or you move down to 25. I don't see who else.
He's jacked, dude. He's jacked. That's the one thing I'll say about Cejudo. There's no way that fat.
But who? Because he's only in it to make a title run, right? I don't like Cejudo, but I can give him credit for that. He's in it to make a run. He's not in it for the salary.
Yeah.
Sandhagen represents to me the easiest path back. The other one
For
Sandhagen,
Cruz,
former flyweight Davison Figueiredo, and you should be very happy about that one too.
That's likely the matchup that'll get made, and I think Cory would win that pretty hard.
I think it'd be ugly. I
don't think he'd finish him because Cory's. I mean, he's had some sick highlights, but he's generally not this like huge power puncher or anything. But I think he'd just pick him apart like badly, and I don't think it would go to the ground at all. So I think Cory just would win that very easily.
Well, what you just said about Cejudo, it's like
5-0.
If Umar can't keep him down, what fucking shot? Does Davison Figueiredo have?
No chance.
No shot. That concludes our Abu Dhabi recap. And we're going straight into the UFC 305 preview. We're starting off with a banger of a fight. Carlos Prates versus Li Jingliang.
That's a walkout.
We're both picking who cares. Yeah, why don't we talk about 305 in general?
Sucks,
why don't we just what do you think about it? You're not a fan, it seems.
I like the Hooker Gamrot fight. I guess the Izzy fight is cool because it's a title fight in the big division. I don't care about Erceg, Kai Kara France. They just cut the best fighter in the division, like we spoke about. What are we doing here? I said to you, if you're gonna have an Australia card, how can you not have Whitaker, JDM, or Volk on there? Like those are over half of your Australian firepower. They don't even have like Olberg on there.
Yeah.
That's like your draw there. If you want to stack the card with those guys on top of what's already on there, I'm buying that motherfucker. Like, that's a great pay-per-view. But the shit they gave us, I mean, come on. And then we got lucky they added Hooker Gamrot to it. Because if that didn't get added, there's no juice on it.
If we didn't get that, then we're looking at 301.
I'm not watching the fights if we're
yeah, right.
I mean,
right.
God, that's a bad card.
Are you going to watch live?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, who you got? No, I'm not. Who cares? Tai Tuivasa versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik.
Fucked. Tai's fucked. And I'm not a big Rozenstruik guy.
Ooh.
But Rozenstruik, Tai's slow. Okay, he's not very good. But you can get away with that at heavyweight because nobody's fast or good, really, besides the top few guys. But Rozenstruik is a good kickboxer, and will probably just kick Tai's leg off for the first 3 minutes of the fight, leading Tai to be oh, my leg's fucked, and
just start swinging,
lunge in, huge hooks. What messy? He's never trained MMA before. And
apologies to Tai Tuivasa, who's a listener to the pod, but
you're famous for chugging beers out of shoes after you beat other fat folks. I don't care. But Rozenstruik, Tai's gonna be lunging in. Rozenstruik's a little bit faster and crisper. 1-2, Tai's wobble, whatever. Maybe a leg kick on his way back to the fence. Rozenstruik maybe lands one more right to the temple, and Tai is unconscious for the rest of his life and goes back to selling weed because he does that as a side gig.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
But he's not a top tier MMA fighter, and I don't need to see it anymore.
What was his peak ranking? 3? Because he beat Lewis.
It was 3 or 4.
Yeah,
and then we were this close. We were this close when he knocked down Cyril Gahn.
Oh, I know. Oh, okay, all right. Let me get into it.
The flukiness of that is.
No, he walked forward to the fire. You're giving him no credit.
It is heavyweight. I'll say it is heavyweight.
So the line is minus 220 Rozenstruik, plus 180 Tai.
Is that high for
You started to think it? Yeah, you started to think twice.
I'm looking at the camera for the first time in a while. If you're at this point in the podcast, you're dialed in right now. Take Rozenstruik minus 220, whatever the fucking line is. He could go up to minus 280. I don't care. That's a worthy bet, and you'll win money.
Jonah is a good friend of mine. I like him a lot. This will be the third time we disagree on a pick.
Nonsense.
On the pod. On the pod.
Don't at least don't advise them financially on that fight.
This is probably the most interesting line to me on the card. Okay.
Fuck that.
Jairzinho, kickboxer extraordinaire. Actually, just kickboxer probably. Not extraordinaire. I'm glad you brought it up. Fat fucks. Jairzinho has lost to every fat fuck that the UFC employs.
Okay.
Jairzinho's a big favorite. Obviously, technicality versus the swang and bang of Tai. Jairzinho's last good win, I'd argue, was in 2020, which is when COVID happened. It was against Junior Dos Santos, who had been knocked out about 8 times in a row. And he's now a professional wrestler.
He's 60 years old.
Yeah. Tai is on a 4-fight losing streak, and what I'm about to say gives me shades of Tony Ferguson, so I don't say this lightly. He's on a 4-fight losing streak, but they've all been against real guys, top competition. I watched him in Orlando get his lights knocked out by Pavlovich. Shout out Wonderboy Holland, great card. Okay, no shame there. Lost to Gon, knocked down, only guy to ever knock down Gon. Got beat up pretty good by Volkov before sub, and then got subbed by Tybura most recently. So I'm going to keep this quick. Jairzinho's not subbing him. Tai can take a ton of damage.
I don't think Jairzinho's ever been on the ground in his entire. The only time Jairzinho was on the ground was when Francis Ngannou sent him to the shadow room.
Oh my God,
he took
dude.
a 35-minute power nap. That's
literally held up the rest of the card because he was just gone.
Lord. Okay. But, yeah. Jairzinho's not taking him to the ground. I mean, the fight's going to finish in 2 minutes. We don't even need to break this thing.
Jairzinho's not Volkov. He's not gone. You'd agree with that?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
I think it's worst 50-50 here. I really like plus 180. Will Tai win? I think so, but I love the value plus 180.
Do not bet on Tai Tuivasa this weekend.
Yeah.
Please save your money. Go the other way, but at least don't take Tai Tuivasa. That is not brought to you by.
What's your favorite Jairzinho win? What's your favorite performance?
Care. It's not about Jairzinho. It's about Tai.
Like Brock Lesnar has more recent wins.
It's about Tai. It's about this guy's not an MMA fighter.
Okay. All right.
Move on to another fight.
Well, we're gonna move on to your most exciting fight.
There's only one exciting fight.
No, there's two. None of them are the title fight. 1.5. Yeah, little men. JMan, your boy Dan Hooker, my boy as well, but really Jonah's boy, is plus 260 against Mateusz Gamrot, Polish sensation, who is one of the boogeymen, the real boogeymen of the lightweight division of wrestling. God, JMan, take us away.
Woo! I think, what's that line? You got that written down?
Yeah, Gamrot minus 350, Hooker plus 260.
Oh, man.
See, this is exactly where, if you listen to him before, go listen to him before.
That is icy. Listen, man. Listen. I think Gamrot's a fucking stud. I really do. I think
he's a
Gamrot,
stud.
And he trains at ATT with all the best lightweights. He's like Poirier's main sparring partner. Like, I can't imagine the amazing rounds that guy's getting in every day, and he has no other personality besides just being this like Polish robot wrestler.
Apparently, he's a real dickhead in training.
Yeah, I mean,
not a real dickhead, but he goes hard.
You ever seen the video of him demonstrating on a Polish TV channel how to guillotine somebody, and he nearly chokes out the guy that he's demonstrating?
No, I believe that.
We should clip it.
Yeah, we'll overlay it.
Anyways, I think honestly,
while you're telling them why Hooker should win, we'll have Gamrot choking out the Polish TV anchor.
Maybe it'll convince him otherwise. But look, I swear to God, I think Dan Hooker is one of the best 3-round lightweights in the world still. Okay? That was the case not long ago at all. And people forget because he's become a bigger name and he's fought like really tough competition. Lost in 5 rounds against Poirier. You fight Mokaev, that's just signing up for an extra $250,000 and an L on your record, whatever. But Dan's a really, really good 3-round fighter. And
can I interrupt? Why do you think he's a good 3-rounder and not a 5-rounder?
If any of his fights prior to the Poirier fight, which is almost all of them outside of Felder, holy shit, does he pace himself well in 3 rounds? And gets better as the fight goes on. 5 rounds has been a little bit of a different story. Like, I know he's a tough motherfucker. But, honestly, the most recent example against Jalen Turner, he's still there after getting the shit beaten out of him for a while.
Christ,
he's a really tough 3-round fighter. And I actually, I give respect to Gamrot. And honestly, I'll say this first. Look, if it's a pick'em, I'm not going to tell you to take Hooker over Gamrot. But I don't think the line's accurate at all with Hooker. Was it 270?
260?
260? I don't think it's
Don't
accurate.
listen to him.
I don't think it's accurate at all. I think let's.
You think it should be 360?
Let's not at all. Not at all. 160, man. Let's look at Gamrot, right?
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, he wasn't taking down Jalen Turner, for instance, that easily. And Moicano was doing it like Belal was doing it to Leon Edwards.
That's true. That's a good point.
Good point. It's not disrespect to Gamrot. He's obviously a great grappler and whatnot, but is he going to take Dan Hooker down that easily? I don't think you can say yes. I know Dan's got this reputation of being a longer, taller kickboxer because he trains at City Kickboxing, and obviously his primary style is striking. That doesn't mean his wrestling sucks or anything. He's historically had very good takedown defense and grappling in his career.
Yeah.
I'm saying I think the route to victory for Dan, he's not just gonna dominate or anything, but it'll be this 2-1, 2 rounds to 1 victory where he's defending takedowns, can get an underhook against the cage. Then they get back to space. He's obviously the better striker. Nobody's denying that.
No doubt.
Lands leg kicks against Gamrot when he goes orthodox. Can land pop his jab, land a 1-2. There is a serious route to victory for Dan, and I don't think the line is nearly as. It just shouldn't be that disrespectful to Dan.
I think the path to victory is Gamrot actually having success early on the feet and getting a little confidence and being willing to stand.
It could be. He's really good. He's really good on the feet too, actually.
He's good on the feet, but my counter to you in the Jalen Turner fight is that Gamrot beat Arman Tsarukyan in a grappling fight. And I thought Arman won, but look, man, it was freaking close. And I think Tsarukyan is the closest thing to Islam Makhachev the division has outside of Islam Makhachev.
Sure, we're splitting hairs now, but the counter to that is Gamrot. That win, as impressive as it was, that was such a full-blown mixed martial arts fight. It wasn't just him taking him down. They each won rounds, scramble, every aspect of mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
I don't think, and in this fight especially, it's much less of a. Dan said this himself in an interview I watched from like a couple weeks ago. There's no secret like where both guys are going to want the fight. Like I can guarantee you, just like we were talking about, guys drilling wrestling over and over in camp. I can guarantee you, Dan is just wrestling all camp long.
Yeah.
Against Gamrot. Gamrot's like the chain wrestler in the UFC.
Yes.
I'm not saying he's the best wrestler, but he's the best chain wrestler.
Best chain wrestler for sure.
And I mean, Dan's just got to be drilling the shit out of that. Can he get 2 out of 3 rounds? I give him a better than plus 260 chance of doing that.
Well, you said that he's one of the best 3-round fighters, and we talk about the Jalen Turner fight. We both think Jalen Turner is one of the scariest dudes in the division, way better than 12. Look, man, all it takes is to win 2 out of the 3 rounds.
That's right.
That's all it takes. It's simple math. We saw Jalen Turner hit a full Leon versus Kamaru head kick on Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker said, all right, mate, sounds good. Let's get after it.
Yeah.
You know, and he can walk through fire with the best of them. You saw it in the DP fight. You saw it in the Felder fight. But no, I can't get behind one of my favorites here. I think it's an easy 3-rounder for Gamrot. Plus, the guy's got one of the best names in the UFC.
You think decision?
Of course.
Yeah, I don't see
Of
it.
course.
I mean, maybe if he got his back or something, but again, he's too good at grappling.
Maybe some, but it's not a knockout.
Yeah.
There's no way. You know? Okay. Yeah, so Jonah, would you say that's your bet of the week? Hooker, 260?
No. Rozenstruik minus 220. Fucking listen to that.
All right. Well, Jonah wants you to hit Hooker 260. I say stay away because Gamrot 350 is steep. But if you're going to do anything, put him in a parlay. 4, this is the half we were talking about in terms of exciting fights. And this will be exciting. This is Kai Kara France plus 125 as the dog. Steve Erceg minus 155. I have a good intro here. You mind if I go?
Do you think?
Technicality versus power. Title challenger versus interim. Fuck. There we go. All right.
It's flyweight. Who cares? We don't even need to cut that.
We won't cut it. It's Aussie versus Kiwi, but this is one of the most fun 125 fights we've seen in a long time. You'd agree with that?
Sure. I mean, the bar is low as fuck.
Well, most of them are wrestlers. Yeah. So, look, Erceg's really good. I didn't even watch Pantoja, I'll be honest. 301, whatever.
Speaking of bets of the card, Erceg, my bet of the card.
Is it?
No question.
Yeah.
I mean, Kai Kara France has a bigger name. That's why Vegas has him at that, because most people won't even know who Erceg is. But
do you think that's true? I mean, Erceg just fought for a title.
Nobody watched that card. I mean, that was one of the worst pay-per-views they've ever put together.
Well, it should have been.
And then he lost. And then he lost the fight. So like nobody really knows that guy.
All right, go ahead.
And Kai's been like relevant for a while now. And
actually, let me go first because then you'll be the counterpoint. What's interesting to me with this fight, 2 of the most powerful flyweights on the roster. I mean, not raw power in Erceg's case, but ability to land on the jaw, on the button, and knock out Matt Schnell. You know, that was beautiful.
They are 2 of the most powerful flyweights.
I think KKF is probably the most powerful flyweight. This is just a gut feeling. So, you know, I don't feel – this is just a gut. But KKF can take a lot of damage. He should have won the Amir Albazi fight. That was one of the biggest robberies in recent memory. I think KKF can walk through pressure and land. I think, you know, I think he's due, basically, which is never a very good technical.
It's a fucking scratch, whatever.
It's not a very good technical analysis. But look,
Erceg.
It should have been his time in the Moreno interim belt when, you know, Moreno landed that beautiful liver kick. If you look at their faces after the fight, Moreno's busted up. KKF is clean as a whistle, basically. I think KKF is getting a little disrespected here, having faced Albazi, Moreno, Askarov, Cody, closer to when Cody was Cody. So I think Erceg's a little untested. He was on an 11-fight winning streak before losing to Pantoja. From what I heard, it was very competitive. He landed the better strikes, but I have a gut that it's KKF's time.
Are you done?
I'm done.
I'm changing my bet of the week. The bet of the week is parlaying Jorginho Rozenstruik and Steven Erceg.
Okay.
Because look, this isn't even close, honestly.
Oh.
And Kai Kara France. I like Kai Kara
I'll just
France.
say it's crazy to say a flyweight matchup isn't even close.
It's
when
not.
you know that they're gonna go to decision.
It's not even close though. I don't think KKF's gonna win around. He's fine. Like it's not that he sucks or anything, and I've typically rooted for him in previous fights. Picked him over Cody when he was an underdog, whatever.
Was he an underdog versus Cody?
He was, yeah, like pretty big too, plus 175.
Jeez.
And the thing is, he's good. He's not that great, and his like combos are pretty simple. Like all he does is throw an overhand right over and over, and
Those are heavy though.
yeah, it's cool when it lands, but it's kind of shown not to against top level guys. And
Whoa. Who has he lost to?
It's true.
Who has he lost to?
Moreno was the shot to get things done, and
he was beating up Moreno.
No, he was not. He was having success in the first 2 minutes of the round. The same round that he got put out. That was
with a liver kick.
He was down 2 rounds.
You must think Giga Chikadze is one of the best fighters.
2 rounds to nothing. Then they were in round 3, and he was having success in the same round that he got knocked down. It's like
Askarov. You're not giving any props to that.
Look, I was rooting for him big that fight.
Yeah.
I really wanted him to win that fight, and I'm glad he did. I say this completely objectively. I watched that fight again, rooting very hard for him. That fight was in Columbus, Ohio, where that was the most exciting fight of the card. I don't remember what the main event was, but basically the crowd was like very on the side of KKF and booing Askarov. Like,
was it one of those Darren Till Wonder Boy situations?
The crowd
gave
the decision.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It was like so obvious.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's that great. I think he beats like, mid-ranked flyweights, but Erceg is crisp, man. I think it's actually more respect to Erceg than anything. I think Erceg would probably beat Pantoja in a rematch and take the belt.
What did you think of their first fight?
Dude, it's got to be like one of the hardest fights to score that I've ever watched.
Really?
Like you could go like just about any way on just about any round in that fight for me. Like I heard people go 4-1 both ways, and I really don't feel like strongly enough to have a problem with either side of that. But point is, no matter how you scored that specific fight, he's really, really good. He's really, really fast and crisp. I just think he's got so much like tighter striking than Kai, and he is a little bit bigger and longer too. There's just like Kai's got that overhand right, like I mentioned, and it's cute and puts some decent guys out. I don't think Erceg falls into that category. Like on a serious note, Erceg minus 150 is like very fucking hot.
Bet of the card.
One
of us says bet of the card, the other one says gut feeling. So, bet responsibly. All right, we're here. The title fight to determine the real African.
Neither is African.
Is it? One of them's African.
Neither is really that African.
All right, let me give the intro. 1 left Africa at 8 in search of educational opportunities in New Zealand.
Worked in sand mines in Africa.
Okay, he's African as well.
Drickus goes and surfs in Cape Town, and Izzy lives in New Zealand.
Where's Cape Town? What continent is Cape Town on?
I understand.
It's like saying someone's from Idaho and being like, oh, they're not really American.
But it's the branding of the African thing.
So,
right?
Jonah is racist.
I'm racist. You're the one saying Cape Town's Africa. Cape Town. Can you believe? Bet of the card. Cape Town being Africa.
Cape Town being Africa minus 350 is the...
My ass. The Wilson brothers are gonna have my back if they make it.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will. All right. Forget an intro. Israel Adesanya is even with Dricus du Plessis as of 6 p.m.
Even. It's not even.
Even, yeah.
Holy
On my book.
shit.
Yeah. So I have a little scouting report. I'm gonna go through. DDP runs a high-pace, high-pressure style, a little like Sean Strickland, who absolutely dog-walked Izzy into a temporary retirement. Although he doesn't bring as much pressure as Sean to me. I know when you look at their fight, DDP was pressuring Sean, but to me, DDP's pressure is always in your face, where Sean is going forward through you. Now, Sean doesn't blitz. In the Izzy fight, he didn't blitz, which we'll see later, I think, is a big issue for DDP. DDP does blitz in. I think that's going to get him in trouble. If you look at Whitaker 1, that type of blitzing in is where Izzy can take a step back and hit you with a right or a knee down the middle. Or if you look at the Till fight, round 2, round 1, DDP has 60-some significant strikes straight. In the Till DDP fight, round 2, DDP was doing the blitzes, and Till was catching him with a short elbow, and we thought he looked amazing round 2 before DDP kind of touched one of his legs, and Darren Till crumbled into a heap. Advanced kickboxers hit you hard coming in on a good day. DDP is a kickboxer, but that blitz is something that another kickboxer is going to exploit. Till did it with elbows. He implored Izzy on Twitter to do it with a knee up the middle. DDP has been labeled as awkward by nearly everyone that fought him. That's polite for sometimes he looks like a drunk frat bro throwing kicks. It's stiff. It's ugly. It can miss butt a lot. But, man, I mean, it's been successful. In their own championship fight, DDP got outlanded by Sean in every single round. Every single round. But DDP was able to swing pretty wildly with power, and Sean was tentative in making him pay for it. That's the number one X factor for me here. Is Izzy's head right? Are the hands going to go when the blitz happens? Is he going to have that razor sharp Whitaker 1 edge where he can back up and land? Or is he going to be backing up and we have to hear from Daniel Cormier for 2 rounds that Izzy is just gathering reads?
Right.
You know? On the takedown front, DDP got 6 in the champion fight against Sean, although he didn't do a lot of damage with him. He definitely tries it here. Who doesn't against Izzy? But it'll be way harder than it was against Sean. Sean stands very tall, and the pressure forward means he's very close. Izzy likes to keep more distance, and the split stance lets him move back more quickly. Izzy has excellent significant strikes, defended numbers. He's even better at neutering other people's offense than he is at creating his own. You saw that in the Strickland fight where Sean landed a bunch, but Izzy wasn't able to produce anything. I mean, Izzy's really a counter striker. He's much better at making you do nothing than he is at putting something forward. He needs you to come forward. Unfortunately for DDP, he loves to come forward. I think DDP will need to land something big to get him out of there. And he did that against Whitaker. But Rob, while being my favorite person on the planet, is pretty chinny. Ultimately, I think this goes to decision. And I trust, unfortunately, Israel Adesanya to win more rounds than about anybody in the sport. So
what do you think? 3-2, 4-1?
For Izzy, 4-1, and new. And I hate myself because I hate Israel Adesanya. I know I texted you earlier in the week I declare for DDP, but watching shit back, it's just like
it's not that impressive.
It's not that impressive, and Izzy's best when people are charging right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, bet of the card. I'm changing my answer again.
Me too.
Parlay, Rozenstruik, Steve Erceg, and Adesanya. And I think people are just like might be writing Adesanya off because he hasn't fought for what feels like forever. I mean, it's been like a year now. And he got fucking dominated against Sean. Okay, that matchup clearly
Dog walks. He got dog walks.
I think it would probably go the same if it happened again, or at least close to it. But I like your 4-1 pick a lot, and I'm gonna even raise the ante and say Izzy's gonna knock him out cold.
Knock him out cold.
I think Izzy's gonna hit him with a real.
That was my Izzy dance.
Yeah, he'll do some.
TikTok.
I can't say it. But like you said it, Dricus enters very sloppy, and he's not that fast and willing to get hit. I mean, even after the Strickland fight that he won, and Strickland doesn't have any power, he'll say it himself, Dricus' face looked like shit. And Izzy hits a hell of a lot faster than that. Speed kills. I think Izzy's going to hit him with a 1-2 and put him out cold. And I don't think it'll be like some playing possum thing and he pulls something out of his ass like it was against Pereira. I think he's gonna piece this guy up. I think leg kick's gonna be there. I don't think Dricus is gonna be able to get him down. Like I really don't even think it's gonna be close. And I'm with you. I don't want to see another Adesanya reign. His fights are typically pretty boring. I'm generally not really a fan as like a person, but God, matchup wise, this is all he can ask for.
I will say this. I do see a path to victory for DDP, but it also rests with Izzy. It depends on Izzy coming out like he did in the Strickland fight and not throwing.
To your point, I agree. Like the one I don't know, intangible that is on the table for Izzy is like, had you sat out a year, you just got dominated in your last fight.
Are you broken?
Is your confidence just shaken? Are you like done forever now? Like you've already reached the mountaintops. Do you really care about this anymore? Or are you just getting a $2 million payday and get to ride off into the sunset after you lose? It's possible. I'm going to say the opposite is likely, and he's going to knock him out.
Yeah. I struggle to see a DDP knockout because
Agreed.
Izzy's really good, even with Sean. I mean, the reason it was so lopsided is because Izzy had zero offense whatsoever, right? It wasn't like Sean was really putting a lot of damage on him outside of round one.
Yeah, he had that one shot. But, that fight's kind of an outlier just because Sean was such a tough matchup for him. Izzy's usually, like, so good defensively where you're really just, like...
Absolutely.
At best, hitting his arms or something.
Yeah. So I don't see the DDP knockout, but I could absolutely not be surprised if Izzy's just gun shy again and DDP wins 4-1. But for the betting line, I think that it's really tough to bet on someone being broken, someone being gun shy.
I'm going with the better fighter.
Right. So the stylistic matchup, assuming Izzy shows up, I think all goes to Izzy. And that is, unfortunately, again, because we hate Israel Adesanya on this podcast, is Israel Adesanya.
Bet of the card.
Bet of the card.
The third bet.
I don't have, I like Tai.
That's the only one we agreed on.
Yeah. I mean, I would bet on Tai. I wouldn't bet on KKF.
No.
Because I just don't have...
Bet Erceg.
I'm fine if you bet Erceg. Do not bet freaking Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Or don't listen to this podcast anymore if you do.
Rozenstruik, round 1 KO. Erceg, round 2 KO. Izzy, round 2 KO.
To the friend that bet Chito Vera, if you also bet Jairzinho Rozenstruik, I don't want you listening to this anymore.
Make up your losses and more with a Rozenstruik bet.
You should sell used Bibles. All right, that does it for us. This is TEEP Show 6. Enjoy the card. First in person. JMan is in the city, so we'll be doing more of these going forward. And have fun on Saturday, boys. Peace.